So as with any cake, this starts with a baking fat and some sugar. So into the mixer with the baking fat. Now you can do this by hand, but these are so much quicker and easier. And then I use 2 sugars for this. I use golden caster sugar, or caster sugar's fine. And I also use a dark brown muscovado sugar, and that's what makes this cake really dark, rich, treacly and fudgy. I just blend those together. Now I use Greek yogurt for this. Not only does this give the cake a real great lightness in a way, but the acid in the yogurt tenderizes the crumb, so that makes such a tender textured cake. And you can never beat a tender textured cake. So beat that in, along with 2 eggs. It's time to add the dry ingredients. So sieve in the flour, self-raising flour here. Obviously it's a chocolate cake, so you need the cocoa powder. So sieve these in. Usually I wouldn't sieve flour, but because the cocoa powder always is quite lumpy, it's a good idea to put it through a sieve. Then for a bit of added extra rise, just a little bit of bicarb. And then back on the mixer. Now this already smells intensely chocolatey and gooey, but to make it even more gooey and chocolatey and intense, I'm going to add some Guinness. And this is what makes the sponge really dark, almost black. So add that in a slow stream. Now it may look quite normal, like a normal chocolate cake right now, but just you wait till it's baked. So I've got here a Battenburg tin. This is a marvellous invention. So carefully pour the batter into the tin as evenly as possible, and make sure you try and get an even amount of the batter in between each divider, otherwise you'll have a lopsided Battenburg and there's nothing worse. So give the pan a little bit of a shake. That's just to level it out nice and evenly. And then into the oven. Normally Battenbergs are covered in marzipan. Now marzipan's beautiful, I love it, but to make this more mysterious and dark, I'm going to use a black fondant or sugar paste icing. And because this is a Guinness and black Battenberg, I'm using black icing. So for the glue, Guinness and black currant jam. So a good dollop onto the icing and spread that all over the surface of the icing. A gleaming black pool of jam, there's nothing better. The assembly and the construction is a little bit complicated, but you will get there. A bloblet of jam, a bit more. Spread that out. Don't be too generous with the jam, because the more you put on, the more risk there is of the whole thing sliding away. Tilt that one forward and use that as a glue to stick the bottom 2 pieces together. A bit more jam on top of that, again not too much. And then repeat that on top, so a little bit of jam on that piece. It helps if you've worked in construction for this, but if not, you can still do it. Flip that over, and then top that with that one, the final one. So align and neaten as you go. And then take a deep breath and bring the icing up over the side. Push the cake into the icing just to tighten everything up a little bit. Bring it towards you. There we have it. To neaten the whole thing, just slice the edges off. You don't need to throw them away, you can still eat them, but it just makes it look a bit prettier. Be quick, bold and swift with this, okay? And then to dress this, just a load of plump, shiny blackberries all over the top and sides. And to finish, a little bit, not too much, icing sugar. And that's
show you how to make a moist and delicious orange cake that's both gluten and dairy free. Now I've started off with 4 easy peelers that I've cooked in some boiling water for about 25 minutes and then drained and cooled them, so they're really tender. I'm going to pop those into a food processor to make a puree. I'm just going to remove the lid and lift out the blade, and that puree is all ready for when we need it. Next, I've got 5 egg yolks in a large bowl. I'm going to add some caster sugar I'm going to use about half of this amount. I'm going to keep the rest to whisk with the egg whites. I'm just going to whisk it until it's really nice and creamy. So I'm just going to remove the beaters, and then using clean beaters, I'm going to whisk up the egg whites. And make sure the egg whites are really nice and stiff before you start adding the sugar. And then once your egg whites are stiff, with the beaters running, you can start whisking in that sugar. So that's our egg whites all ready. Now going back to the egg yolks, I'm going to add some ground almonds, 2 teaspoons of Waitrose signature spice, which has got a really fantastic scent and flavour, and it works really well with those oranges. In that goes. And just use a spatula to make sure you get it out, because this is going to give the orange cake that fantastic moist texture that we're after. And just give that a little stir around. So now I'm going to add the egg whites. Just add maybe a quarter of it, just to loosen the mixture, and then fold in the remainder. I'm just going to be quite gentle because it's the meringue that's going to make our cake so lovely and light. So the mixture's evenly combined. I'm just going to pop that aside. And here I've got a cake tin, and I've greased it and lined the base with parchment. I'm just going to spoon in that mixture, just pour it in, and just give it a little shake to level off the surface. And that'll need to bake now for about an hour until it's completely set and golden brown, and then leave it to cool in the tin. So my gorgeous cake has cooked and cooled, and it's ready now to be decorated. And here I've got 4 more of those easy peelers. I've just peeled them, and I'm just going to slice each one into 4 or 5 nice slices to go across the top. And do this just before you serve it so that the juices and the fantastic colours are really vibrant. And then just arrange those slices on top of the cake. And then to finish it off, a little drizzle of honey or maple syrup. On that goes, and then a final sprinkle of icing sugar. And there it is, all ready to slice and serve my spiced orange and almond cake.